And welcome, everybody, to 88.5 FM, WVOF in Fairfield, Connecticut. Joe Kelley with the Upper Room, just kicking it off right here at 5 minutes after 4 o'clock. And it's a snowy, rainy, crazy day. I live up in the Northwest Hills of Connecticut, so crazy ride down to the studio. But we are in for a real treat. I've always wanted to say these next words because I've been following this artist's career from when I first got back into radio in 1982 at WVOF, where our old location used to be. And he has had a storied career working with his own records and also working with Kim Wilde, Mr. Paul Weller, Monty Moir, Stevie Wonder, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis. And he has a brand new album. It's called Oceans. And he's a DJ, too. So we're going to get into that a little bit. But without further delay, I welcome to the Upper Room with Joe Kelley, Junior Giscombe. How you doing, Junior?
I'm well, Joe. How are you?
Now, I always, most people know you as Junior. Your last name, how did I do on the pronunciation?
Oh, you did well, man. Giscombe. You did
Giscombe,
very well.
Okay. and for our listeners right now, they can go to Junior's website, Junior Giscombe, GISCOMBE.com.
That's correct.
Yeah, you got a new album out, Oceans, and we've been playing it as soon as you sent it. And tell us about it. It's an independent venture, right? On High Quest Ventures, right?
Yeah, that's correct. It's an independent venture. I decided over the years I've been signed to record companies, major record companies, and my association with them has always been like, here and there, and, we're always fighting. And I just thought, you know what? I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of success in terms of things that I've written or things that I've produced or my own work. And I just decided that it was now time to take creative control and also take business control. So High Quest Ventures is my own company, and I'm putting it out through my own company. So this is a new, if you like, it's a new forum for me. It's somewhere new for me to go, and I like challenges, so I'm really excited about this.
Well, G and I been listening the past week as soon as we got the CD, and I was trying, I was sitting in the living room listening, and I'm saying, it's really tough to pick, two or three songs to even put in an interview. It's such a solid record from the get-go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Now, tell us about the production on it. I know yourself, you play a lot of instruments and sing, and you also have a co-writing partner on it, right? That's
right. My partner on this project's a guy called Wayne Brown, and it was the opposite way around with Wayne. Wayne did most of the playing, and we did the programming together, and I did all the vocals, obviously. And in terms of the actual production, I think what it came down to was the fact of trying to steer clear of what everybody else was doing and trying to do something that was very much me again. It was like going right back to the beginning when I made Mama Used to Say. Mm-hmm. In England, everybody said it was a rock and roll record, and they wouldn't play it. And in America, when it came out, everybody was playing it, and they were upset because there was a remix done.
Right.
So, and in England, everybody was like, over the moon that the remix was done.
Right.
So it was basically that I'd gotten myself to a place whereby I was making records which were, I think, individualistic sounding records to me, and that's what I wanted to get back to.
Now, you talked about people getting up in arms about tampering with the classic, here in the States. You would think that, people over your way are a bit open-minded, right? How about today, music-wise?
It's funny you say that. I mean, I know people say that, like, England is a lot opener. It's more open than the US, and it most probably is in a lot of respects. But it most probably is in a lot of respects. But you find with England that it has a lot of closed doors too, and what that does is it closes off a lot of the new music that's going on. A few years back, we had a breakout of a music form that the kids were doing called Jungle, and they managed to have a few hit singles with it, but because it wasn't nurtured correctly, the music went back underground and then kind of like distilled and got watered down into various different things. in England, we tend to be able to come up with it. We just don't have the backing through even the DJs themselves in terms of like being behind the movement of that into it, transmitting into the press and into the whole thing moving forward. A bit like how, to be quite honest with you, when I was a kid and I came over to America, with Mummy used to say, hip-hop was just starting. So I went out on the road with Curtis Blow. And, you know, Curtis was like the biggest hip-hop star there was at that particular time. And it was really interesting, you know, being able to go around and play various venues and see the whole thing develop into what it's become today.
Now, when you came to the States, you mentioned touring with Curtis. What kind of venues were you playing here in the States?
Wow, we did, this is terrible now, we played New York together, and we did a show in Washington. To actually turn around and be able to tell you the two places, I've got them written down in my old diary, so I have to go and look back.
Right. No, but I mean, you have definitely. I mean, you left an impression on me through the music throughout these years, and I brought some of the old records that. You know, we're going live here for the WVOF show, but we also will be re-airing this in a couple weeks on our 24-hour network with G. Deso and myself at upperroomwithjoekelly.com, and we'll be including more of the catalog with Junior. But right now, I want to get into something from the new record, because this is a great record. It's called Oceans from Junior, and his website, once again, is juniorgiscombe.com, GISCOMBE.com. And let's see, we'll kick off with Friends. And this is from Junior. Junior's our guest right here at WVOF. That's some great music, brand new music from our special guest, and true honor to have on Junior Giscombe right here. Junior, you know him from Communication Breakdown, Oh Louise, Mama Used to Say, and you know, we were talking off air. Junior's a well-rounded artist. He's also, we're not going to say the word DJ, because I agree with you, because you know, I could do what I do here, interview, spin records, but I can't cut it up and get people saying, "Wow, that guy's incredible" at a club with the music.
But I think it's interesting though, Joe, because you see, I think you can. All DJs that I've met over the years, I've had, you know, a hell of a lot of respect for the mere fact of what they have to do in terms of putting a show together, putting music together that they hope people out there will like, and also trying to find music that they're trying to get people to get into because they're excited by the music. I think that that's an incredible talent within itself. And, you know, being able, we were talking about radio, and I do solo radio at the present moment in the UK, and being able to play on air and have people listen in, have people email you about the tracks that you're playing and the style and everything else. I love it. It's absolutely knocked me away.
So the website people can go to listen is solarradio.com, right?
That's correct.
Now tell us the air times and dates for people who can listen to you online.
Right. The air times, I'm on from Monday to Thursday from 4 till 6. That's UK time. Okay.
And you can go up there, picture of Junior, and also check out juniorgiscombe.com where you can get the link to go and get Oceans. It's also available at cdbaby.com, a real nice site, cdbaby.com. Just type in Junior Giscombe and Oceans, bring you right there. You can listen to tracks. And you mentioned the single. What's the first single off the record?
Well, the first single here in the UK is All I Do.
Okay, All I Do.
Right. That's the first single here.
Now, you've had an incredible career starting. I had one of your records when you were recording as Norman Giscombe, and that was on the wax. I think it was called Hot Up and Heat or Get Up and Heat It.
That's right, Hot Up and Heated.
Yeah, I got that one. I didn't bring it today, but I got it back at home.
Oh man, that tune came out, in the UK. Became a huge hit in France. I think it went to #1 in their dance charts in France. And I didn't know a thing about it, man.
Oh, really? So they owe you some money, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm still trying to get it.
A thing I always, from the interviews I saw of you, before we started talking back 80s or early 90s, that, You know, you were always one to tell it like it is in the music business. You alluded to in the beginning on struggling with the record companies and everything. As an artist, I mean, making a great record, and then what are some of the trials and tribulations that kind of said there's a better way to do it independently?
I think that really started very early for me when I think just after I did Mama Used to Say, and I remember we'd made the second album, and I remember Inside Looking Out was the title of the second album, and I remember going into a marketing meeting, and I remember sitting down with the marketing man who told me that there was a band on the label. I won't mention their name because they're well known, but there was a band on the label who they were going to spend something like in the region of £500,000 in terms of just promotion and everything else. They hadn't sold as much records as I had sold, but they turned around and said that they were going to spend £25,000 on my record because it's a black record and it has to be played in the clubs first, and then we'll see whether or not it makes sense for any money to be spent behind it. Now, that was after selling over 1 million albums and maybe like 2.5 million singles. So you sit there and you think to yourself, all that money that's just been made, and you're going to give it to somebody else to promote them,
right,
and then you're going to start me from the beginning again.
Wow.
So I think our argument started from there.
So is it tough going in the studio knowing you still have to make records for the company?
Yeah, right.
With that kind of...
That was hard, man. I'd gone through a phase when I did the second album. The second album to the third album took forever to make because I, at one stage, refused to record because it was like I wasn't now going to be able to make the kind of records I wanted to make. That was pretty much obvious from the stance that they were taking, and that made it difficult to create. So I would write songs, and everything that I wrote wasn't good enough. So I'd gotten to the stage after 9 months of continual writing that I was going to do a writing exercise for myself just so that I knew that I wasn't losing it. So what I did was I took the, I think it was the melody from Heard It Through the Grapevine.
Okay.
And I used the music from another very successful song. I can't remember. I think it was a Stevie Wonder song. And I managed to marry the two into a song. And I came in and I played it to these executives and these A&R people. And everybody turned around and said, no, that's a load of rubbish. There's no way. That's this and that's that. And I sat there and I listened to them. And at the end of that conversation, I turned and I said, you do realize that that melody was a #1 melody around the world. And music form was another #1. And it's not been changed in any way other than the fact that the lyrical content on top is different.
Wow.
And everybody sat there, everybody sat there, and it's like, well, I don't, but you see, I was even ahead. I brought in the records
right,
so that they could hear what I was saying. Then that was a lot of red faces, and that made it worse, because obviously I was proving the fact that they didn't know what they were doing, and they weren't actually really dealing with my career in the way that they should do. So that made it hard for them. It's like anything, really. When you look at somebody and you're telling them the truth, and they don't want to hear it, it takes a little while for them to actually digest it and realize that you're not actually having a dig. What you're trying to do is to say to people that, listen, we can work together, we can make it work, but you can't put the music down or water it down or put it into some kind of box for it to work for you. It doesn't work like that for me.
I'm sure you can go in some of these boardrooms today and teach them a few more lessons too.
Oh, I'm
much
sure.
has changed, right?
Some of the stuff that they're allowing to come out, they're terrible.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's bad, real bad. Hey, I want to say thanks quickly to Gita. So I know she's out there listening for helping us today. And also to our internet listeners at WVOF.org. I got word that a lot of people are listening across the world. What's up to the funky girl at funkhome.com in Paris, France, and everybody out there spreading. Nice. Yeah, you got to hook up with them, because some serious people out there, funksters. So, yeah.
Oh, great.
I know you've had chance to work with some of your idols throughout the your career, and one of them, and he's the first guy that I saw in concert. I went to the Hotter Than July tour. Gil Scott-Heron and Stevie Wonder, and you work with Stevie, right?
Yeah, I worked with Stevie on an album he did called Characters.
Okay, right.
And I did BVs for that album, for that song, right, One of a Kind, from that album. And my association with Stevie started when I did Mama Used to Say. I'd met him at his station in LA. And I didn't know what to say. I was speechless. He was somebody whose records I'd been buying since I was a kid. And here he was telling me to come into his office, and we were talking music.
Right.
And I just couldn't, I froze. I couldn't speak. My palms were wet. I always remember it, you know. It was like, you know, when your lips go dry.
Yeah, right.
Crack.
Right.
But Stevie was just so wonderful. He was able to just put me where I needed to be, which was, at the time, it was my first experience of coming to America as an artist and doing like TV shows and things like that. And one of the shows that I did was Billboard had given me an award for that year, 1982, Best Newcomer. And everybody was backstage. And Stevie just kind of took me under his wing and would introduce me to everybody. And I remember trying to sing a song of mine, trying to sing it. Listen, I did a song called Communication Breakdown, and Michael Wycroft was in the wings, and he listened to me singing the song, and he called me when I finished, and he said to me, "You're not singing it correctly." And Michael sang my song better than I did, and he made me sing it as good as he did, and I thank him for life for that. And it was just like that. It was I'd met people who were just so warm to me. Maybe it was because I was the black English boy coming in, and it was new. I was new. The way I spoke was new. My attitude was different. So maybe that's what it was. But it was a wonderful everybody. I mean, going right across to Robert Gilliam, who everybody that I'd met in that first 6 to 8 weeks of being in America were just so warm and incredibly nice to me. And Stevie just became like my big brother and showed me a lot of things and still teaches me a lot of things.
Well, our special guest right now is Junior Giscombe Jr. His new album, Oceans, right here on WVOF in the Upper Room with Joe Kelley. And he's going to be with us for another segment. We want to thank for taking time out. Nighttime out there in you're still based out of London, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
it's nighttime here now, man. It's 25 past 9.
Right. So thanks to the internet and everybody, and we're here on 88.5 FM on the Standard Radio. We should get into I'll ask you one more question before we kick off into another new track from Oceans.
Go for it.
We have an instant message at AOL Instant Messenger. You can instant message us at WVOF 88.5. They want to know when you're going to be coming to the U.S. For a show for your new release. Any plans? Or is that...
man, everybody, yeah.
I'm sure you get hounded with that question, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's asking. I'm now at the point where I'm just waiting for promoters to talk to me.
Okay.
And I'd love to come in as soon as possible. I miss the U.S.
Right.
You know, the last time I came in was 5 years ago. I produced a record and an artist here called Richard Blackwood, and we were having lots of success. And
that's your nephew, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right,
And we were having a lot of success with I did a remake of Mama Used to Say called Who the Man, because he's a comedian, and we did it in a very funny way, and it seemed to work for people, and that was great. And I wanted to master the album, so I came back to New York and was in New York for like 2 weeks, and I just wanted to get back around the country again. It's such a wonderful, vast, wonderful place.
So we hope you're here soon, but make it happen, right? You know, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hey, you've been in, 1982, the first major label release. But you still, hey, man, I saw the pictures on the website. You're still looking good, man. You're still young. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so obviously inspired by the music. We got another track from Oceans. This is called You. Tell us a little bit about writing this one.
Oh, you. I went, as I said to you, I went straight back to the beginning. And I think You is a universal song for every one of us. Boy, mother, father, uncle, sister. You're just basically talking about the one you love. And my you is my mother. And the song is just saying what I think we all say when we have that special person in our life. I'll never find another you, no matter what I do.
All right, this is music from Junior right here from Oceans here on WV. Music from Junior right there. Sounding really good. That's called You, the two-sided single, All I Do. Yeah. You hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. And the track that was playing was You.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah. We played You, and then All I Do is the double single with that, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's like in the old days, we would have said it's a double A side.
Right, double A side. Yeah. Well, when I got into radio here, wow, fresh out of high school in '82, and I used to belong to the Hill Record Pool in this state, and you know, when we used to get your 12 inches, right, that would be a big thrill just to have, because we used to take a couple of your records, the big hits, and spin them on the turntables and get kind of like that airplane sound, the double effect. I don't even know. Like you said, we're not DJs on the turntable, but it was just, man, growing up in that time definitely leaves an impression. I mean, even In Words is such a great song, which was the flip of side of Too Late. That, you know,
yeah,
all that great music. How many of those albums do you have in your personal possession? Or you?
I've got one copy of every album that I've ever done.
Okay, how about the 12 inches? Did you keep copies of those?
No, This is the thing. I didn't keep copies of the 12 inches, and I wish I did. It's a bit like now. I'm looking up at various sites to try and get them.
Okay,
right.
Well, I got to send you a holiday present one time.
Oh, please,
because I got a bunch of them.
Please. Oh, please, man. Yeah. It's a bit, you know. During the time of doing the records, it's terrible. During the time of doing the records, you're doing the records, you're listening to them, you're trying to make sure they're okay and everything else, and then you go on and you go on. Instead of actually, like, keeping one so that in years to come you look back at it, you just figure to yourself, fine, that's done. Mm-hmm. And then the major projects, like when you do the albums, you ensure that you keep an album because it's like, right, let me listen to the overall of that. But you forget the singles that came off and the remixes that were done.
Right.
And, you know, it would have been nice to have kept a lot of those stuff as well.
Well, Junior's new album is called Oceans on his independent label High Quest Ventures. His website, juniorgiscombe.com, Giscombe.com. And he's out in London. You've got family based in you got family in Jamaica, and I saw Canada too, right?
Yeah, I got family in Canada. How you doing out there in Jamaica? What's guanin?
Right. Some patois, right?
You know what I'm saying? And all of you family members in the US, yo, what's up?
Yeah, Junior, always definitely a great person to talk to, and you know, you've been through so much in the industry. Now, I forgot to talk about, and I know a lot of people. He's a great friend of ours and part of the Minneapolis music history. Monty Moir. You work with Monte and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. What was your first introduction to those cats? And you know, I guess you and Monte gonna hopefully reunite musically and stuff and touch bases.
Oh, definitely. The first time I met Terry and Jimmy was at a convention. I think it was in Atlanta at the time, and they had just recorded a group called Climax, and I had gotten a copy of what they'd done and just thought that it was fabulous. And we had met, and we discussed, we started talking about both of them coming over to England to record my second album. And I was just so excited by them because I knew of the time, I knew of their work with the time, with the first album, and you know, I was just in awe of what was going on in Minneapolis at that time. And I came back to England. This is just to show you about closed doors. I came back to England and I started talking about Terry and Jimmy, and I said, like, these guys are going to be the next big producers. They want to come and do a junior album for virtually nothing. All they want is a hotel room and per diems, which is like maybe like £50 a day so that they can eat. Here are the two top producers that I think are going to blow up in the world. The record company turns around and says to me, I'm mad. They've listened to what they've done. They said it's rubbish. 6 years later or 7 years later, Terry and Jimmy do Change of Heart. They're now charging $100,000 a track. And my record company says, hey, you should go and work with Terry and Jimmy. They're the boys.
Wow.
When it was going to be free,
right.
they weren't the boys.
Right.
When they charged $100,000 a track, they were the boys. So it's like that learning curve. But, you know, that's where I met them from. And Monty, I wanted to record in Minneapolis. And I think at the time, Monty was doing a young man from England called Stephen Dante.
Okay.
And he'd also done some work with, I think, Ruby Turner at the time. But I liked it. There was something about what Monty had done. He had done the Janet Jackson Pleasure Principle.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just, that just had so much vibe and feel to it. I just wanted to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it was one of those situations where the record company was like, no, we don't know who Monty Moir is just because he's with the time. And I was like, you still don't get this, you know? It's not really about that,
right.
You know? So I managed to kind of like twist some arms and got things done and came to Minneapolis and spent, must have been about 2 months, nearly 3 months in Minneapolis, back and forth. And I just fell in love with Minneapolis. I fell in love with the people there. I fell in love with the attitude. I fell in love with the fact that, like, musically, it's like breakout. A lot for there's nothing to really influence you if you're coming from an R&B perspective. You can come from a rock, because rock is R&B. You can come from any part of it and mix it up. And Minneapolis was that. You know, the young jazz musicians that they have down there are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was just for me, it was like a musical playground of just wonderful musicians, young, you know, the Princes and you know, his band with Sheila and all of these people, just wonderful musicians who were just wonderful people. And I needed, at that stage in my life, I actually needed to be in that kind of environment.
And it's on record, and I know Monte. You know, I saw Monty a few weeks ago here in Connecticut.
Uh-huh.
And he was really pumped to be able to hook up with you, and hopefully you guys. Hey, I'm sure you're both independent. And get in the studio and do some stuff.
Definitely.
That would be cool. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like, you know, I look at life in a way whereby I think that we have what I call earth angels, and you're very fortunate in life if you meet one. And that they don't have to be with you every day of your life, but it just seems like God, they walk with you spiritually. And Monty had that spirit from our first meeting to this day that leaves me calling him, you know, he's one of life's earth angels.
Yeah, great guy.
He is.
You know, this is a little side note to something you said before. The day that you sent your new album to us at the Post, I also got that day a package from Cheryl Cooley of Climax with a 2006 calendar and a remix of Meeting in the Ladies' Room that she did.
Oh,
so that's
wow.
I put it together right as you were talking. I said, "Wow, that's really strange."
That is strange.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I guess the band, they had their little disagreements about different, but yeah, it's Cheryl's cool, and you know, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So
that's great.
Yeah. We wanted to also touch briefly on Paul Weller and the Style Council. You worked together with them, and you went on tour with them too, right?
Yeah, we got together through. We put together a what would I call it? I would say it was a political unit called Red Wedge.
Uh-huh.
Myself, Billy Braggs, who's more of a folk kind of rock artist was at that time, political artist at that time, and also Paul Weller and myself. We put together, if you like, a band called Red Wedge, and it was a band of musicians who, what we wanted to do was just basically enlighten the youth of the time to politics, not in the sense of being part of any political party, but just in the sense of being able to understand some of the politics that goes on, so that you can affect your area and affect your MP, which we have in constituencies in the UK. You can affect your MP by lobbying him to ensure that certain things get done for you as young people within your area. And we got together because we all believed in that way of thinking, and we went out and toured together. We made a record together. Paul did a song, we called it Soul Deep. Jimmy Ruffin was also on the song. Paul, myself, DC Lee, was always on the song as well.
Right.
And we had the record took off for us. So we decided to do a Red Wedge tour, which was a really bold, interesting extravaganza, in the sense that we would have like 4 or 5 main bands that did the whole tour. But in each city that we went to in the UK, 2 bands who were very successful, or 2 bands who were up and coming, or a band that would be very new, nobody had heard about, we'd allow them to come up and do their set. So here we were in front of maybe 3,000-4,000 people every night, and there'd be like new bands, but they were all coming from the various areas that we would go to. So if we were in Liverpool, it would be a Liverpudlian band, Manchester, a Mancunian band, and that's how we went through the whole tour, and it was a very successful tour. We did that, and Red Wedge stayed around for a few years and basically disbanded. But it was its 20th anniversary last year, so in the UK they did a few different radio shows talking about the time then to the time now and changes and stuff like that. So that was a very interesting time for me as well, getting involved in politics and meeting Neil Kinnock and finding out a lot more about how the country that I live in, how it worked.
So Junior's always an evolving artist and doing a lot of things. You can catch him at solarradio.com for his host of a radio program. And, Oceans is just coming out, cdbaby.com for Oceans, Junior Giscombe, and juniorgiscombe.com. A lot of people may not know that you went through almost experience where you passed away. You broke your back, right? In a car accident. Yeah. I mean, you have pictures up on your website, but I don't know how much detail you want to go into, but tell us what happened.
Oh man, I'd gone out one night, as you do, and I was on the way coming back home, and I was on a motorway on the way coming back home. You'd call that a freeway for you,
right?
And the car just lost control. It just locked. The actual steering wheel locked, and there was nothing that I could do, and it just went straight into a barrier and span over. And I managed to get out of the car, as much as I remember. I managed to get out of the car, and the car was going to look like if it was dropping on top of me. So I put my feet up against the car, just an instinctive thing, and just felt when my back broke, and that was like, it broke in 2 places. The next minute when I woke up, at first they were telling me that I was paralyzed. So it was like, I think what did me was the fact that, like, I'd never, at the time, it was like the fact of never being able to walk again. The initial impact of that just crushed me. Mm-hmm. It took a couple of days, weeks, and they worked on me, and I give thanks to God for that. And about after 3 months, I was able to leave the hospital, but I wasn't able to work. And again, it's like, I need to work. I need to write. I need to be involved in music. It just pumps me up, and I couldn't do it for about 6 months afterwards. I had to go on a physical fitness program, and I didn't start recording until I think it was 9 months after, nearly a year after. And when I did, I had to go in the studio. It's so funny. I used to go in the studio, and they'd put a bed in the studio, and I'd lay on the bed, and they'd put the mic down, and I'd sing going up, and I thought, wow, nobody would believe this.
Right. Kind of like, I think John Lennon recorded a record like that one time, right?
Yeah. I was like, no, I don't think people will ever believe this. But it took a little while, but it was a life-changing experience, just not because of the fact that I was fortunate to actually come out of it, but I think the things that were going on in my life at the time, which were very negative, needed addressing, and I'd been trying to continue down a road without addressing certain things, and I think that accident just made me have to, like, pull up, as they say, right, when you go to yard, I'll pull up.
Right.
So, that's what it made me do. I had to, like, pull up and stop and realize that I needed to take care of certain things before I could move forward. And it was funny, as I did start to take care of them, things began to fall into place. So, it was like, it taught me a hell of a lesson in more ways than one.
So your voice is sounding stronger as ever, and you're writing amazing. This Oceans record, of course, we're going to get deep into the tracks throughout our various shows. And if you just tuned in, Junior has been our special guest, and we'll be re-airing this in its entirety with additional music from Junior's catalog and more tracks from Oceans in the next couple weeks for 3 days and 3 nights at upperroomwithjoekelley.com. But you know, I really got to thank you from the bottom of my heart for stopping by. I've always wanted to talk to you over the years, and you know, you made my day. I was looking forward to coming to the studio all weekend long. So thanks, brother.
Man. No, thank you, and thanks to everybody out there listening in live right now, and to all of you listeners who will be listening later on. All I can say is, Joe, you're doing a fantastic job. You know, and I just thank you very much for taking the time with me, because I know what I'm like.
What's that?
No, I said I'm just saying I thank you very much for taking the time with me, and you know, right, I've really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. So, I mentioned before, I brought some 12-inch records from Junior that we used to get in the record pool when we were just out of high school.
You're going to send them, right? You're going to send them to me.
I got to help you out. You know, at least I got to send a couple of them, right?
Thank you.
So you know, I love In Words, but I wanted to give some of those old school Junior fans who, you know, the people, you know, when you go to, we saw Cameo over the weekend in concert, and throughout the you know, when they did the Alligator Woman album, see, that's the record where I got into them, but I was singing the words, and not too many people knew that record. They wanted to hear. They wanted to hear the Candy and the Word Up. So I'm gonna play this next track to satisfy the people who love to hear those hits. But this is the extended version of Too Late, and real personal lyrics. I mean, I'm sure people, you know, in all walks of life go through situations like this, and you know, I think the lyrics stand as strong as the record, the groove.
Thank you. That song, again, I've got to thank everybody in America for that song, because that song in America gave me a career, and I'll always be, you know, grateful to that song, Too Late, because it was talking, as you know, about abused women, and coming from the child's perspective and what he was seeing, and the woman's perspective. And when I first came to America, I did a lot of going around to various places and meeting people who had gone through that kind of abuse, and they'd all ask the same question: what made you write the song? And it was, I'd met a young lady in Scotland, and I was doing a gig in Scotland with a band called Lynx, and I'd met this lady, and we were sitting down and we were talking, and we just got deep. It was like we just managed to go from level to level to level. And she started to tell me about her childhood, and Too Late was her childhood. Mm-hmm. It was what she went through, and what she told me her mother went through.
Wow. Great story from Junior, Too Late, and then we're going to get into another great cut off the new album from Junior, Oceans, called Closer. And, Junior, Giscombe.com, Giscombe.com. Also, it's cdbaby.com. You can just type in Junior Giscombe, and they'll bring you right to the new record. Get this record in your collection, and thanks, Junior.
Thank you very much, Joe.